Good morning, Richard. How you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. You all recovered from your big day out?
Not so sure it was a big day out. Do you know what I mean? It was an interesting day, shall we say? I wasn't out all day because there's only so much you can do wandering around, isn't there? Let's be honest.
Do you know, I did think at one point, I was like, oh, I could nip down. I've got a couple of hours, thinking that that's all it'd take. Get down, do a lap, and walk out again. I was like, don't think I can be bothered to spend the money on a train ticket to go and walk around for an hour.
No, and it was an interesting one. Let's put it that way.
So, what was the main theme of? Because obviously, this was it the data event or was it cloud? It was wider, wasn't it?
It was a bit, yeah. It was a bit of all sorts. It was a bit of everything. Um, yeah, there was a data thing in there, a cloud AI and a cloud and like a data center thing. And it was really interesting to see just how many systems there were. I think I mean, yeah, there's always been a lot of platforms around, right, in the data world. There's always been a lot of choice, but now it's literally on another level. And I think there's so many few. I mean, I know what I've been doing this for 20 years, right? And I know systems. I've seen a lot, come across a lot, used a lot. And I was looking at it going, and I was going, blimey, even for someone who's experienced in that industry, going, there's a lot to consider. And if you were not experienced in such matters and you didn't have that knowledge, then you can sit there going, it's mad. But some of them are so good. Some of them are really, really good. But as a consumer, should we say, the choice is just like, how much can you do? Most of them will do most things perfectly adequately and very well. Some of them can do a lot more than that. Some of them will obviously maybe have some nuances that don't work quite so well. Most of them have what let's put this have AI woven into it one way or the other. Because there was a few systems that a lot of it would do AI for you, so it would do a lot of the building of things. And you're thinking, well, how is that for saving time, for being efficient for someone that maybe doesn't have that experience? Okay, great. But then how does that help somebody understand and learn what to do? How does somebody then get a real grasp of what that system's doing? So yeah, it was fascinating. And I think from what I took away from it was there's so the need to have a clear business case and a clear value of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to achieve before you even look at platforms, which I've always said, but is never more important. With all of these options, all of these tools, all of this AI, everything has just got AI slapped all over it. And unless you know what you're trying to do, you have to take a beat,
Yeah.
take a beat, take a minute and just work that out and look at it and get some advice. I mean, because there's so much, everything looks amazing, and you're going, whoa. You go, no. But you get what that's obviously that's normal. People do that. I get that. It's marketing 101, isn't it? But look, new shiny toy. Yes, please. Yes, please. But you have to, it's never been more important. And I think the other thing I took away was data quality's never been more important because unless you know what it is you're putting in it, unless you know the accuracy of everything, you have to, it's, don't just blindly go into the whole world of slapping in a
Yeah.
system and everything without really grasping and knowing what you're looking at.
And it's a bit like we said on one a few weeks ago, isn't it? Where I've worked with people who know where to put the numbers in the system, but if what
Mm.
calculates at the end is wrong, they don't know it's wrong because they don't actually understand what it's doing to get to that number.
Yeah, I think this is the thing with the AI. This is with the AI, the co-pilots and stuff doing all these steps for you. It's fine and that's good, helpful. But again, like you say, you have raw data that spits out of a system in JSON or whatever, and you're looking at it. And if you're a business, you're a business person, or not, you're not technically experienced in that world. what does that? You look at it. What does that even make? You know, that's already a bit of an understand. You need to understand what that looks like, and then you're asking code this system to go out and produce a load of pipelines and spit out an outcome at the end. Where do you just go, great, fine, hit run, and that's our new process? I mean, in theory, yeah, but at what point, where do you need that test, that checkpoint to be able to go, is it picking up everything we thought it should be? Are we comfortable with this?
Yeah, and you see examples, don't you, on the internet, even of people who are developers and coders going, "I've put this into an AI tool and it spat out this piece of code which looks amazing, but actually, I know there's issues in it, and I can see there's issues in it, but me personally looking at it, I probably wouldn't know there's issues in it." And I've done it with even with Salesforce, where I just wanted to do something basic like set up an email workflow, so that someone lands on the website, they fill in a form, they get something sent to them via email. Should be really, really simple and straightforward. Asking AI to do it, they got it wrong every single time. Every single time. They couldn't really understand. I think there might have been some tweaks based on the version of Salesforce I've got that they didn't know about. And to be honest, I ended up Googling it and ended up on someone's blog where someone had written a blog post going, "This is how you do it." And I just followed their steps one by one and got to the end result and got the answer, and then could see which bits the AI was missing and what it hadn't quite understood. And the way the drop downs work was slightly different. And it's little things like that where I think, as you said, it's almost where do you sit almost on that trust scale, isn't it? Of the systems, what they're saying to you, what they can actually do. Because obviously, I mean, digital transformation 10 years ago was the silver bullet to everything. And then all of a sudden, implementing all these systems made no change at all. And all of a sudden, the messaging went to, "Oh, well, actually, it's all about the people, the process, and this, and you're like, all right, so you flip the narrative because you've realised the software on its own does nothing, makes no changes, and you're almost there now of buy this and all the AI, but actually, will that actually change stuff? Will it do what you need it to? Or is it a decent prompt, but you still need to know how to code, for example, to understand whether what it's giving you is good enough to deliver what you need it to deliver? Or
This is it. And if you then put it out live, because you've trusted it, and you put it live into a process or an application or a team, and suddenly there's a problem or a bug or an issue with it, if you don't know what it's doing, or you're not experienced enough to understand what that means, you're going to then ask the system that built it to fix something that it doesn't think is wrong, potentially. I mean, you can push back on them. I've done it. Push back on them and go, "That's not right, is it? Have you thought about this?" And they're going, "Oh, yeah, good idea, yeah." But then it's like, well, I get it. It needs that back and forth, doesn't it? It needs that checkpoint and those check. I understand. I get all of that. But if you're not doing that and you're not experienced to go, that doesn't look right. So I need to push that back and ask it to rethink it. At what point does it just go, "I can't find anything wrong with it. It's now in production somewhere live and it's wrong and you've got no way of fixing it." This is the other bit where you, for me, is a little bit of a grey area.
yeah, and I still think we're kind of a long way from that level of trust. Even the basic tools. I think everyone's seen the Chat GPT. How many R's are there in strawberry? Where it tells you there's two, even though it's three, but it's not because it. I believe it's because it counts blocks of letters as opposed to the individuals. That's how it processes so quickly. So to it, there's one in the start of straw and there's one in berry.
I had to just think about that for a
Yeah,
second.
but then if you ask it just for berry on its own, it can see that there's two in it. But I think
Mm.
when it's longer words, it chunks them. Uh, but all the way
Because it's
through,
is it because there's two. There's like two. What's the word? Two like fragments to the
yeah,
word. I can't think of the right expression.
yeah. But that those
It's
fragments is fine. But yeah, it's basically chunking the words up as opposed to doing the individual letters. Uh,
syllables. Is that the word?
Syllables, yeah, that is a word, yeah. Uh, and also, I mean, I use
Yeah, you're playing the drums, isn't it?
yeah,
Syllables.
I use Sintra quite a lot as well, and it comes up with some quite good ideas and stuff, but it says, would you like me to draft you an email sequence? And you can say yes to it, and it doesn't draft you the email sequence. It kind of gives you information about what the sequence should be, and you're like, no, I want you to actually draft it. Oh, you should have said. And you're kind of like, that's what you offered. It kind of doesn't even understand its own pieces, and I just think we're getting there, and it's getting better. And obviously, the quality is, I mean, from if you'd have said to me 3 years ago some of the stuff you're doing with it now, I think that you'd be not many people would kind of believe the speed of it. But there is an element as well of I can use the tools I use because I understand what the outcome is I'm trying to achieve with it. There are lots of tools out there that I wouldn't touch because I just wouldn't know whether what I'm being given is right or not. And like you said, the market's kind of exploded, and there's a million and one different platforms. And how you go out and evaluate those and find the right one for you that works perfectly for your industry or your niche or whatever. And I know I come back to local government a lot, but it's a lot of the background. It still annoys me. But they have a very specific way of tendering, and you kind of know before it even goes out what 3 or 4 suppliers you're going to get on that list. And I can guarantee you none of them were at that event yesterday.
Mm.
And you're kind of self-limiting through how you go to market in the first place to do a lot of this stuff. And actually, a lot of these companies don't really want to work in the public sector because it's a ball ache going through the whole contracting, demoing process that can take easily a year.
NHS England's good to get into at the moment, I hear.
Yeah, it's top of the list. But AI is going to replace all that. So I'll be going for an appendix operation at some point that was meant for another Richard Godfrey who lives down the road somewhere.
There's not another one, surely. Is it your alter ego, like
Yeah,
jolly,
there
chirpy?
actually is. There's a head of IT at a local council called Richard Godfrey.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Does he have really horrendous old photos? I mean, spectacular old photos that he keeps putting out on LinkedIn as well.
but they're classics. That no one's
Mm.
actually. I've had nothing on today's. I put a Roy of the Rovers one out today. Disappointed with that one. One of my favourite
The wonderful
cartoons.
world of LinkedIn's algorithm.
I know. Does anyone really understand it?
Nope.
No.
Uh, going back to the other point about platforms and things, is that there was things like AI, cyber as well, AI, cloud, AI, all this infrastructure security, and you going again, is there? I'm sure it's tested to the nth degree, right? I understand, I get all of that, but and then within the other platforms that I was looking at and got demoed and watched, and it's AI this, AI that, that was all weaving its way in. Is there a danger that it's being kind of pushed in because it's trendy into systems that maybe it had no real, it worked perfectly well without it, but they're trying to push it in, and is that? And I'm not saying it compromises the integrity of the system, but is it kind of diluting the platform and making it, because people are trying to keep on this upward AI trajectory, they're kind of going, shit, we need to do AI, so we just put an AI chatbot or a co-pilot in there. And is that a danger? Really, I would never tell platform providers what to do because I don't provide platforms, as in I don't build platforms. But how, is that a bit of a, I don't know. I'm not even sure risk is the right word, but is it a bit of a caveat in a platform that maybe doesn't need to necessarily be there? I mean, is there a world where someone just goes, we don't need to use AI because we're perfectly happy with everything that we've got in the platform at the moment, so we're not going to jump on that train just for the sheer shit of it.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I think there is a large element as well that have automations in their system and have labelled them as AI rather because, as you said, that's the buzzword and the keyword. But actually, it reminded me. I'm sure a couple of years ago when the NFT craze went a bit off the chart. I'm sure Salesforce released a Salesforce for NFT, or were talking about doing it, and then that bubble burst within weeks, really, after every footballer on the planet had launched their own NFT collection. And you heard no more about it, and it slowly disappeared. And I'm like, so did they just stand up and say, we're doing this because that's the current trend and everyone's talking about it? Or did they genuinely start to build something behind the scenes that was designed for that? And you kind of get that, I get that feeling a little bit with AI, exactly as you've said, that because it's the thing everyone is currently talking about, that every single company has gone, we must therefore have something AI in our system. And I'm pretty sure in half the cases, all they've done is use the ChatGPT APIs and just connected back to a small bot or something they've built in the background. Uh, some probably do use it. Do some of them a disservice. Some of them are probably using it quite well. But because there's always the ones that aren't, how do you kind of distinguish which
And this is
which platform you're
this
going
is
to
some
use,
of it.
and then which ones?
Yeah, and some platforms are very good. Some platforms are excellent. Some of the stuff I saw yesterday was amazing, and it looks like wow, blew my head. And you're going, but then and you just came away going, it's just there's so much choice out there and so much option now that you're going. It is a little bit. If you didn't know what you were choosing, and you'd be like, whoever's got the biggest, best sales patter. I mean, who's got the biggest? And is this why a load of them have slammed AI into everything just to say, yeah, we've got AI, and it's like tick that box because that's what people are wanting. And it kind of goes away from that whole concept that we banged on about for ages. It's like unless you is there even now an even bigger risk that people are going to lurch from spreadsheets to AI, thinking that that's going to solve their issue, and they're missing this big chunk out the middle of control, accuracy, quality, governance. I mean, without being a killjoy. And this is what I said to someone the other day. I'm not anti-AI. I'm not being a killjoy. I'm not going, oh no, don't do that. It's a load of crap. It won't do it. It is there. It's good. It's going to be here forever. But you have to just put that control in place, and then longer term, you'll have a much better outcome.
And then, I mean, I still get it. I shouldn't say too much. There's a conversation I've had with the council about data, and they've almost gone to the point of we want dashboards, and you're bringing them all the way back to like, well, what are you going to do with them? What do you actually want to achieve? What's going to change? What will be different? And I had this at one I worked with last year where it was all about producing these dashboards, and I was like, your biggest issue isn't that you can't see the data; it's that no one in your staff is empowered to do anything with it once they've seen it. So all you're going to do is look at this monthly and have a chat around it. But actually, the whole point almost of the dashboards and giving you slightly more real time information or daily information or weekly information is that you can adapt and make changes, do something different, change the way you think the narrative's going. But you're not in a position to do that. So it's almost like you need to run an HR project first to give everyone the ability to make their own decisions before you worry about what dashboard you're going to do. Because once we get what's going to be different with them, then I can go and look at what the data is, what you've got, and how you present it, and then we can start to build out what these dashboards look like. But it was almost like the answer is dashboards.
Well, the answer is platforms, and
Yeah.
then as soon as you
What's
say
the
to someone
question?
data, the answer is platforms. And as I had this the other day because I sent a message to someone on LinkedIn, and I just went, this is they'd shown a bit of whatever. I won't go into the details, but I just gave them a bit of an overview, saying blah 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 blah, asking some general questions. Didn't mention technology, didn't mention anything like that at all. I then had a message back. I mean, I got a message back, and it wasn't telling me to chuff off, so she's always positive. And they say we don't. Thanks for your message, but we don't need a reporting tool at the moment. And I'm like, it wasn't what I was saying. That wasn't in my message. And it was really for me that actually encapsulated the whole fucking. Here we go.
Morning.
The whole problem with the data world. It is just everything. Right, I need to do some data. What platform can I use? I need to do data. And you're like, well, okay, but that's a secondary question. And I think because there's all these platforms now and there's AI, everything's being thrown in, the first instant reaction when you think of data is platform. And quite, yes, you probably will need a platform of some description, but people, there's still that leap straight towards a tech solution straight off the bat.
But for someone like you, Richard, who's obviously, I'm going to say, talented in this arena.
No, just talented, really.
Just in this arena. Uh, if
That
I
must have really hurt you to say that.
if I'd said to you though before yesterday's event, okay, what we want to achieve from our company is X. Go and have a look at what's at this event tomorrow and see what there is. Do you think you could have gone in as what you know already and gone in and gone, actually, yeah, there's three to five options we could come away from? Or if you were just someone who had a business who went to it of interest, would you have come away from it going, I'm none the wiser, but there seems to be a lot out there that does shit?
I think you just summed it up. Yeah, I think that is. I think if I were in there with a specific need, I would be able to identify and gather information around costs and rollout and infrastructure needed and how it would be implemented. I could come away with a vision in my head about how that would work and which ones would fit best for that, for what was needed. Because because we've done that with clients, we don't always go down the most complicated technical route. It's whatever is needed. So it's the same with yes. And if you went in there as a business owner with I need to do data, you walk away going, I got Scooby. I'd be like, pick one. It's literally like that. Which one do you go with? Because a lot of them are quite, a lot of them will do. Like I said at the beginning, most data platforms will do most things perfectly well without any real issue. Um, some need more work than others. Some are aesthetically the CX, so a UX is better than others. Some are more pliable and malleable, should we say, than others. Most of them will allow you to get data from A to B, do some transformations, and stick a dashboard on top. Most dashboard tools will allow you to get data, create a dashboard, do some calculations, and check it out to people. It's not the availability of platforms and technical solutions is not an issue in as much as it doesn't really matter. The issue is which one do you go with? Dashboard wise, it's probably a little bit clearer depending on your budget because there's different people at either end of the spectrum that have specific differences, but it's not, the obvious Power BI one is very available, very good for what it is. It's really, really user friendly. It's very good and quick. No issue with it at all. Tableau's got a bit more by way of cost, but a bit more complicated. You could do a bit more with it, dare I say. And then you got other stuff in there that is more kind of enterprise level. But from data movement, data process, it kind of is like
Yeah.
it's the concept.
And coming back to, obviously, a lot of this podcast is around kind of demystifying the world of data and everything. I think what you probably saw yesterday, I was trying to concentrate there and think, what you probably saw yesterday is probably what I find when you visit a lot of these companies' websites, is that the language on the website is very much directed towards a specialist who will understand what they're talking about. There are very few that I go to that will start telling you about what business outcomes you can achieve through using the tool. They want to get into the technicals about how clever technically their system is. But again, if you're business owners and you're from a non-tech world and you're looking at coming into that arena, you don't need to know any of that. You don't need to understand that. That can be on pages, but actually, I want to know my business is doing X. I'm finding this to be the problem. How do I resolve it? And I don't necessarily always see that messaging coming across on the websites. And I don't know if you find when you talk to them on a stand whether they can articulate the problems they solve versus how the tech works.
Maybe a bit different for yesterday because it was a tech show, so it probably was more a little bit skewed. So I would know what it was, but I would totally agree. I came back with some of the. I came up with I got taken like leaflets and stuff. I was gathering, hoovering up as I was going around. I got some swag. I didn't get loads of swag, but I got some swag. But I got it because I wanted to read up on it, right? To see what people were saying. And on the way, I was looking at it going, it's so jargonized, it's technical. Yes, it was a technical show, so you could probably give people a bit of slack for that, right? But if you were going as a business person with limited data knowledge, you'd be like, you got wow, I don't even where to look. And we've said this a few times. It's something I've always said is that we mentioned it before, saying data has a massive PR problem with itself. Does the data industry like to only talk to people in the data industry? Is it a case that it's trying to appeal to people that are already in the industry? Whereas if you're a business owner that you're looking around for some help, it's not you're not relating to that whatsoever. So is that where the gap exists, which is why you have this massive lurch in data maturity with organizations that are not very mature running on spreadsheets to that are quite mature that have got it and have evolved over a period of time. They're now in that place where they can understand that concept. They've done some work around it, so they really some of these buzzwords and jargon bullshit they actually understand. Whereas if you are one of the many people that have not that have dabbled, maybe messed around with it, they used it a bit, have something in place. It's just, I think that's where it always a little bit wrong. And I think, as you say, I knew what I was looking at, and I came away going, so if you didn't, 20 odd years experience,
Yeah.
marvelous enough, I may add. So, but then you go, yeah, I don't know, it's just,
There must be a scale issue for businesses as well. Like if you're a mid-sized 20-person business, the likelihood of you having a data team and a few other bits is quite remote. But actually, you still need a way of understanding a lot of this stuff. And although you say yesterday was technical, there's no such thing as a non-technical data show that a lot of these companies would be at. So you almost have to force yourself to be uncomfortable and go to data shows and technical shows and things like that to expand your own knowledge of your business.
and if you provide a platform and a technical capability, then the onus is the onus. I'm not saying the onus is on you to make it accessible for people that aren't technical. I'm not pointing fingers at platform providers. I'm observing that there's a gap, but maybe a gap between platforms and people that still exist. I mean, it's probably in every technical system, isn't it? Let's be honest. I mean, as we said before, previously, if you're looking on Netflix, you don't expect Netflix to tell you what server it's coming from, what the streaming rate is, how long they've had it, how big the file is, how much you can download, how much it's going to come through to you, what the quality is, what pathway it's going to come through to your device on. You want to read it. You want to read it, watch
Watch
it.
it, yeah.
So that is still there, but is that kind of I don't know. There needs to be a translation between the two, and I think that
Yeah.
a conduit, a
Yeah.
broker. No,
A bridge,
sounds like you're going to get paid.
a
A
bridge.
bridge is clear.
And I've
Bridge
always
is
said there
clear.
needs to be a bridge between. There always used to be a saying of uh, IT needs to understand the business better. IT was always seen as this thing that sat alone from the business.
Mm,
And I actually argued that it works both ways, and actually the business need to understand IT better. You
mm,
can't be walking around really in 2025 as a business leader going, I don't really understand technology.
mm,
And you kind of like, you don't need to understand, like you said, you don't need to understand the technical side of Netflix and how it gets the film to you. You need to understand the outcome that you can achieve from that happening is now you get to sit at home in your lounge watching a film whenever you want.
mm,
And I think there's so much learning that needs to come from the business side of things to kind of ingratiate themselves into the world of IT at a particular level where you can kind of have a conversation with a data person. So you could turn up and we could start having a meeting and we could talk there. And I would be able to understand whether you understand my problems and know how to fix them, or whether you're just talking shit
mm.
and giving me a
Jargon.
load of acronyms and jargon and coming across that way. And there's still this reticence I find from people. I mean, my very first book, though, it's only a tiny little pamphlet book.
Did you write a book?
I wrote two, actually.
Okay.
But the very first one was a tiny little pamphlet kind of book called "I Don't Do Technology," and it was literally because there's what I just used to hear from people all the time. Oh, I don't do technology, and it's like you do. You're sitting at a computer now, emailing me. You do technology. You just don't want to accept you do it. But also, as directors or CEOs or founders or whatever, you have to do it. You have to understand to a point what it can do for your business. And same with AI. What can AI do for my business? What can data do for my business? What can all these things happen? And you can't just sit there anymore and go, oh, well, that's IT's job.
Mm.
And then moan that IT don't understand your business. It's like, well, you don't understand theirs. So the two of you need to sit in a room and thrash it out. And yes, some of it is ridiculously boring and dull and technical. And if you ask the wrong question, you can be there trapped in a corner for an hour while someone explains to you how some protocol works. But you need to be able to get to a point where, at a certain level, you can go, okay, I get you guys know what the technical side of it is and what it needs to actually do. What I need to achieve is that we can run this service in this way or something. You guys go and find the tools and the solutions to get me to that point. So I think communication across the board is still as big an issue now as it was a decade ago, and probably the decade before that as well, with this almost imaginary line between those who do technology and those who don't. That's a little bit of marketing. We'll have to edit that out.
Sorry, it wasn't meant like that. I was trying to be more. I was trying to do that.
I've not put my Sin City hood on. Otherwise, hoodie even. Not
You would.
just sit here with a hood on. I have some very weird phone calls. I've just realised why.
That's some strange locks on the door in the middle of the night. I don't know why.
Yeah,
Police turned up.
put my anonymous mask on when I start talking to people. Yeah, hoodie.
Mr. Robot.
Hoodie is what I meant to say. Yeah, but yeah, I still see that divide constantly, and those who do, and like you, I try and talk non-technical, non-jargonish as much as possible because you have to, and just go in and focus on what you actually want to achieve. Like these data projects, you might think you want a dashboard, but actually, once we've uncovered what you actually need, it might not be a dashboard. It might be something completely different. You might just need a spreadsheet sent to you more regularly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, or it just needs tidying up, or it
Yeah.
needs some process or automation put in place that checks it and gives you some rejects out of your system or something. Is rejects, errors, rejected records. That's what I was thinking. But yeah, but it is true. And it is funny because you get into the concept of. I was walking around yesterday and having conversations with people who were very technical, and I was talking as though I wasn't technically competent, and they were explaining stuff to me, and I was saying, "Oh yeah, I understand that," and you could see that they were like going, "Huh? You you didn't explain that you knew how to do this stuff." It's like,
Did I tell you years ago when I worked with one of my mates, Ross, who I used to work with? If we were in a meeting together and someone was coming in doing demos or technicals, Ross used to ask them to. He basically used to say, "Richard's new into IT. Can you slowly explain to him what you actually mean and what you do?" And they'd be like, "Oh, here's the thickie in the corner. Let me explain it all to him," without realizing what Ross.
with a hood on.
Yeah, with a hood on. What they weren't realizing was Ross was testing them to see how well they could get it across and how well they could explain it and how well they knew it without using the acronyms or the jargon. And it helped me anyway because I've got to understand more. But 90% of it I understood anyway. I could have had a conversation with the guy on my own without Ross in the room. But we just played this dynamic of, you're going to come in and try and sell stuff to me. Don't jargonize it because we're going to kind of put you in a situation where you're going to have to explain your way out of it. Used to enjoy those meetings. We should do more of those. Putting salespeople under pressure. Used to enjoy that. But yeah, I don't know what the answer is in a lot of it because, like you say, yesterday was technical. The one you came to me at, which was more of a business one. Yes, there was still a lot of IT stands there, but probably nothing in the same region of what you saw yesterday. I think possibly you might have had one or two crossovers, but that was probably about it. And then unless you're moving away from kind of like the major brands, the AWS, the Salesforce, and those bits, you'd never know as a business owner. Probably 95% of the companies that were at this event yesterday even exist, or what they do, or that they're capable of doing what they're doing. But you'll also find 95% of business owners wouldn't go to a technical conference like yesterday. And some of that might just be nervousness or unsure, or it might be it's not for me. But sometimes you just have to go and say, look, I'm new to this. I don't understand it. I run a business. This is what I want to do. Explain to me how your tool does it. Terms, and just put yourself out of your comfort zone a bit.
Yeah, and then assume that they can explain it to you like
Yeah. And if you walk away thinking I still don't know what they did, that's not the one for you.
No.
Because they haven't been able to explain it properly to you. But there has to be a crossover, I think, somewhere where there's almost like one of those events where the event opposite is the business event and you get free pass or something, and you're forced to go into the other side to go in.
Forced by a man in a hood.
Yeah, but it's I'm happy to do that. But I mean, part 2 of the book was discover, and it was about going out and looking for solutions and putting yourself out there and seeing what's in the world. Because ultimately, you will limit your own ambitions by your own knowledge, and almost thinking a lot of this stuff isn't possible or can't be achieved. When actually, you turn up at this show and there's a small little company who've built a very particular niche in your area that would sort you out a treat, but
Yeah.
the two will never meet.
No, it's true. Like I said at the beginning, there's so much choice now. It kind of, but you have to. That's why you have a clear business case in. You go with that business case. You go and look at the providers. You get demonstrations, or you go and see them, or whatever, and you look at it, and then you can assess it, and then work out whether it's right for you. I mean, other than don't look at it on that's got loads of add-ons and it's really amazingly slick and it's got these bits and that bit and this fancy colours and that's completely the wrong. I'm not suggesting people do that, but they don't get. You have to still be fully clear on what you're trying to achieve. I think is the end message as well as the beginning message, because there is so much out there now, and I think this is where you have to have that experience or support to be able to make those decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. And my end message will be: if you're not in tech, you run a business, go to some tech shows. Even if you just wander around aimlessly, just go and understand what's out there and what's
Pick up some
available.
swag.
Pick up some swag, get some t-shirts. No one will know what t-shirt is anyway.
No.
You didn't see that guy who nicked on my books, did you? No, I didn't know if he was.
There was people going around going shamelessly going, "Can I have a pair of socks if you can scan my card?"
Yeah,
And you're going,
to
right,
the fake email address they've put in.
yeah.
So, right, mate. Well, let's end it there.
Man in a hood
Man in a hood. I don't walk around in hoods all the
at
time.
gmail.com.
At least you got the provider right. Yeah, right. Let's leave it there. So,
Anyway,
yeah, I think it's useful. And I've always said to people, go to conferences. I think they're even if it's not for you, go sit, listen, learn, understand, ask questions. It's the only way I think you'll get yourself to a point where you've got enough knowledge to almost understand some of what's possible. And
also it gives you identifying maybe where you don't have that knowledge and maybe where you need some help
yeah,
or need some support or guidance or
Beamer
learning to be able to
Solutions,
do it.
they can come in and help you.
It wasn't to hint. It was an observation.
It's fine.
But
You're allowed to hint. It's your podcast.
call me.
It's your podcast. You can say what you want on
There
it.
you go. Call me.
So, right, mate. Until next time. I'm gonna put everything Sin City on next week and put it above my head and everything.
And your hood.
Yeah, make sure we're there. So
Just don't wear the gimp one.
I don't know where that's gone.
Slightly wearing.
I think the dog had that.
I don't know where I left it. Is it in the wash?
Yeah. No, it's never been washed. Right, mate. I'm off. See you later.
Right.